neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the Stealth Hitch Receiver on a 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee WK. Now this is what our hitch looks like when it's installed, and you're probably going, well, where is it? And that's the great part about the Stealth Hitch. It's completely hidden until you're ready to hook up your accessories, and then you just simply pop this into place. Now this is going to be used for just accessories. You're not going to be able to put a ball mount on here because this is not designed for towing. If you plan on towing with a Stealth Hitch, you need to make sure to pick up the towing package that will have a ball that actually pops into place rather than the receiver, but it's also going to come with this for your bike racks and cargo carriers. Now this is a 2" by 2" receiver, which is going to be a great choice for a bunch of different accessories, as this is kind of the standard. So if you're looking at bike racks or cargo carriers, there's going to be a ton available here at eTrailer to be able to load up and start your adventure. But when you have those accessories in, you're going to need to make sure that you have a 5/8 pin and clip, and that's just going to keep those in place. And the hitch does not come with the pin and clip. A lot of times your accessories will, but if you want to pick up an extra, or if you want a locking one, we have plenty available here at eTrailer. That way you can lock not only this receiver in place, but your accessories in place, and know that they're not going to disappear in the hands of someone else. Now, as far as weight capacity goes, your tongue weight is going to be rated at 600 pounds. So even if you really load up with some e-bikes on a e-bike carrier, it's probably not going to exceed that 600 pounds. So this is going to be great. Now, when choosing your accessories, you want to make sure that they're able to be folded up. Now from the center of the hitch pin opening to the furthest point of the rear fascia, it's about 2 inches. So this should have clearance for a lot of your folding accessories. But something you may want to look into is maybe a tilt feature on those accessories to make sure you can still access your hatch while loaded up. Now whenever you're done and you're not using your accessories, you can simply twist the knob here. It'll drop this out of place, and then you can put this cap back in. It's going to keep that receiver opening nice and clean from any road grime. There's also a rubber cap that goes on the key tumbler, and that way that stays nice and clean. So it's kind of a great option to be able to lock this in place, and a simple twist of this is going to stay on when you need it, but when you take it off, everything still stays protected. Now, as far as installation goes, compared to other Stealth hitches, this is one of the easier ones, as you don't have to take off the rear fascia. The downside is 2 of the factory bolts are kind of tricky to tighten down, or at least get tools in there to tighten down. So I found a few small ways to be able to accomplish that still. So let's go take a look at that now. To begin our installation, we're just going to grab a 13/16 socket and a decent size breaker bar or ratchet to kind of help you get these knocked loose. There's going to be 2 factory bolts here with washers on each side, and we're going to be using these to get our hitch mounted up. So we'll just go ahead, get these loose. And as I mentioned, they're a little bit tight, so you might need to have some leverage here just to kind of knock them loose. And then once you get them going, they should be pretty easy. So we'll go ahead and get these removed on both sides. So now at this point, you might want to grab an extra set of hands. It can be awkward at times to kind of feed this up. It's not super heavy, but just to hold this in place. So lift that in, and then just hand tighten hardware in, 1 on each side, and that way the hitch is going to support itself. And then once you have 1 on each side in, you can go ahead and put your other 2 bolts in place. It's going to be a little tricky here, just kind of a tight spot, but as we align that, we should be able to get our bolt to drop in. Now, the ones that are back here are obviously tricky to get in by hand, just hand threading them in, but tightening them down can be equally as tricky. There's 2 options that I've kind of found. If you have a ratcheting wrench here, you can very small. If you have a fine tooth, you should be able to get a little bit of rotation, but really you're going to kind of have to just do this while keeping pressure on it. That way it's clicking. And once we get that to draw in far enough, options are going to be using a crow's foot to kind of get around here, and that'll attach to an extension where you can tighten it. It's still going to take a while. Or if you have a swivel extension here, once you draw this in far enough, you should be able to get a socket on there, and this will allow you to get a wrench So this is the way that I'm going to do it. I did have to tighten it in just a little bit for my socket to fit, and you will need a decent amount of swivel here to make that clearance. So just be patient here and make sure that it's nice and tight. So now I'm going to go ahead and just tighten down the rest of my hardware. Now I'm going to come back right after with a torque wrench. So you don't have to get too crazy here, but if you get those snug with this, it might be a little bit easier before you get your torque wrench on. So go ahead and get everything tightened down. But now I'm coming back with my torque wrench and just using the same method. We'll get this torque down to the manufacturer's recommendations in the instruction manual. Now, if you need a torque wrench, we have these available here at eTrailer. You can generally rent them at an auto parts store. So go through and make sure all your hardware is torqued down properly. Now we're going to take our receiver block and our bolts as well as our nylon lock nuts here, and we're going to slide this up into place. And just align the holes on the block with the holes on the hitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and get our nuts put on here. And to tighten these down, we're going to need a 15/16 socket as well as a 15/16 wrench. Now we'll just get this tightened up. Now these also have a torque setting that's a little bit higher than our hardware that we previously torqued down. So again, check the instruction manual for that torque setting. And also when using a torque wrench, you generally want to tighten on the nut side, and that way you get the proper reading. So have a deep well socket to accomplish that, and then get both these torqued down. Now we'll just take our rubber plug off the bottom of the receiver, and that's going to have our keys located in them. So what we'll do here is then pull off the rubber cap that's on our tumbler. Take our key, and we'll open this up. That should spring load out. We'll twist this back to where you hear it click, and then we'll just take our receiver block here, push up, should hear that click, and now we have this in place. And we'll just go ahead, lock this up, put our cap back over the tumbler, hold on to our keys, load up our accessory, and then hit the road. And that was a look and installation of the Stealth Hitch Receiver on a 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee WK.